You got it? And welcome back. And we're moving into our final segment for today as we talk to a panel of young leaders. Of course, they are recently back, or some of them are recently back from an experience abroad representing Belize as young leaders. We have Allan Pollard, who is a councillor for the Belize City Council. We have Kyle Miller, who is the Youth Empowerment Coordinator for the Department of Youth Services. And we have Kris Miller, who is the board member for the Belmopan Active Youth and a volunteer for the Department of Youth Services. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Morning, morning, morning.
So it is great to have, and we have to say there is a female in studio. She wasn't able to be on set. Dominique Noralez, who is the president of the National Youth Council, who also attended the conference in London as well. I want to start off there just kind of getting your reaction. Kris, you can maybe start us off in what it was like to come together with young leaders from all across the world.
It was a good experience. It was very amazing. We were with 53 different nations, people from 53 different Commonwealth nations. So it was good going in a room with a group of people from different areas around the world, but still share same challenges, and yeah, it was great.
Yeah. And Allan, you were there as well?
I was in St. Lucia.
You were in St. Lucia.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience.
Our experience was really great. We had young people coming from all parts of the Caribbean to talk about issues, and the theme was amazing. It was moving from rhetoric to action. So it's all based on what are all the talks that we are normally talking about, and how we can really put in some structures in ways that we can make some action out of this. Whereby young people come and say, you know, we're tired of talking, because every time we go to a conference, it's talk and talk, creating documents, and there's no action behind it. Yeah. So this one was really looking at how young people can move from just the talking and do some action. Yeah.
So I know you were at the CHOGM, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting, the Youth Forum, and you were at?
We were at the Caribbean Youth Conference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I think that is very important to talk about is how does one become a representative of Belize as a youth leader? I'm sure there are lots of young people out there saying, I want to go to something like that. I want to get my voice heard beyond Belize's border.
For our experience, it was a simple process. There's always initiatives that are posted online where you can just go and just register. Based on your qualifications, you get chosen amongst thousands of young people who actually register to go. So it's a simple process of just being informed. There are a lot of websites online, from one called youthopportunities.com. And so you just go on and whatever forum interests you, you go on, you can apply. And there's an application process and stuff like that.
Now, being actively involved in Belize as a young person, I'm sure comes with its challenges, because there are many competing priorities, especially at your age. Why are you committed to working with other young people? What's in it for you?
It's just seeing that change when you change someone's life and make that difference. It gives you like a feeling. I can't explain it, but you know that you've done something good to change someone's life. So yeah, that's my reason.
In my position, seeing, you know, living amongst, you know, people of the same age group, whatever, and then doing different things in terms of politics or whatever, being an influence, I think to me it feels more like a duty more than, you know, privilege or something like that. No? So in any aspect, any way I could help, I'm already extending that out to Ms. Dominique, Kyle, the department, to, you know, any way we could interact, have the council, have some kind of community participation within these neighborhoods, whatever, you know. So that's like a duty for me now, especially being elected. You know.
What was it like? That has to be interesting, because I know quite a number of these youth forums you're calling on. You're really talking about what the government is not doing for you, and elected officials are not doing for you. And you were there as an elected official and also a young person. But it's great to hear. I'm sure it must have been an eye-opening experience. What do you feel empowered coming back more as a young person?
Definitely.
And as an elected official?
Honestly, I felt kind of bad, you know, in a sense, you know. I was out there, I was like, the politicians aren't doing this. I'm like, ooh. So there I'm sitting as a youth and a politician, you know. So and I just have to extend it from Belize, you know, because there's Barbados out there, there's Trinidad, there's everybody, and they feel some sort of way in their area. So I was like, one of the reasons I'm here is to make sure that your voices are heard. I know you guys feel powerless. I know you guys feel like you don't have a voice right now, but there are people like me that are doing whatever they can to expel this talk. You know what I'm saying? So it was a rough thing, but after a while, I got through to some of them. We got through to most of them, and I think after like day 2, day 3, we moved away from that government talk. And, you know, we got into more of the action part, like what can we do? It's not all about government all the time, especially after the Prime Minister's address. We met the Prime Minister of St. Lucia, and he's saying, you know what, it's like unsustainable for the government to do everything. You know, so there are these bodies that could write policies, make action plans, and, you know, all different kind of creative ways to push their ideas out and, you know, help the community. It's not all about government all the time.
And Kyle, for you, well, you have been involved in youth work for quite a long time, and it obviously shows your commitment to what you're doing. What do you find to be your contribution when you work with other young people, and also what you get back from them?
My contribution is, you know, it's first of all, it's a passion. I've been doing it for like 15 years now, you know, volunteering and working with young people. And for me, it's just like Kris mentioned, it's that aha moment when you meet someone on one-to-one and you share experiences and stuff like that. Every day for me, it's a learning process. Although I've been doing it for so long, it's a learning process. Every person I come in contact with, it's a learning process where it shows me, okay, it's not all young people that you know, are doing certain things, or if you meet a certain type of young person and you have this meeting that person for the first time or seeing that person on the news, you know, it's a bad person. But when you really sit, you know, and talk to them, you really find out that, you know, despite their background and what they're doing, they're really intelligent. And it gives me certain motives and helps me come up with different programs and projects on how to reach some targeted young people. So it's like a win-win situation whereby I share my knowledge and I share my experience with young people and my story, and then again learning from them on how to reach them better.
Let's talk a little bit about the challenge of being a young person in a system where, for young persons, the society kind of takes a tokenism sort of approach to young people. You know, we need a woman, we need a young person. You know, it's just a box that we tick. How do you move from the rhetoric of society that we need young people involved, when psychologically in their minds they're thinking young people just define themselves? To telling them, no, I do have something to contribute, and here it is.
It's amazing. I like what you had mentioned, and I shared this experience while we were in St. Lucia. We had that same discussion with, we had a panel of the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, the Minister of Youth, and we had the General Secretary for the Commonwealth, and we had a Minister of Finance that was there on the panel, and one of the young men shared that same thought that, you know, we need to move from just participation and do meaningful participation related to young people, because we're just tokens sitting on a committee and say, oh, we have a young person on the committee, but they don't take us seriously. And so I stand and I made a comment, or I threw a comment to the Minister of Youth, and I say, if the government of St. Lucia or any government really wants true youth participation, they should create a vacancy whereby you have like an intern youth minister, whereby a young person can fill that position and represent the minister at youth forums and youth committees, and then take back certain information and give that minister certain ideas on how to reach young people, but really and truly have that person volunteer, and be participating meaningfully. And so the minister jumped up, and the Prime Minister jumped up and said, that's done, we're going to do that in St. Lucia. And I asked him, okay, well, to share that with your other counterparts of the Caribbean.
Jamaica does that.
Jamaica does
have
it.
a youth
And then
minister.
we met one of the youngest elected minister in the Caribbean. He's about 23 years old, and he was very intelligent. And so I want to go back to that. Being a young person doesn't mean that you cannot do certain stuff. You know, we are very intelligent. We apply ourselves very greatly. It's just that we haven't given that really opportunity, that true opportunity to show that we can represent ourselves very well.
You know, and I think one of the things, and Kevin is touching on the tokenism side, but I think one of the things that we have to accept, and you're a panel of young men in a country where young men are dying very frequently, younger than you are, and some of them are killed by people younger than you are. And very often, young people in Belize get a bad rap. And I don't know how much you will agree. Some of it is deserved. If we look at criminal issues, some of it is deserved in terms of where priorities are. How much are we keeping up with the Kardashians instead of keeping up with communities?
True.
And also, we do have great people like yourselves who are involved in doing something. It's not your responsibility to convince the community. I won't shift around a responsibility that is not yours. But using this outlet to have people who are listening understand that young people in this country, there are young people in this country who care about what's happening, who want to be a part of the solution, and who many times just want to start off with being heard. This is what I think the problem is. Even because you're living it. Right? So what do you say to the Belizean people who have this impression that, you know, you either don't care or you're not, you're a part of the problem?
I for one would encourage them to, you know, like use any platforms. Like I always said that you don't have to be a part of any organizations to do your part. You know, and I went to do an address a couple weeks back before being elected, you know, it's campaign-wise at the sixth form, you know, my old sixth form at HJC. And this young lady, she was like telling us about how she creates websites, and she already had a website up where she's not really connecting with anybody in Belize, but they have some excellent forums going on in El Salvador, Guatemala, and all around. So she's doing her part. It's just unseen, you know, it's just unheard, you know, but those are little strides that you could make, especially with social media. You know, start a blog, simple things, and then going from there. Also, I want to say that saying what's the problem, knowing the problem is one thing, you know, and planning on how to address that problem is a totally different issue, because we all know what are the problems. We all know what happened in Belize everywhere. Finding a solution, no, that's our part, the hard part come in, you know. Finding ways to combat crime, violence. And at St. Lucia, we did workshops, like breakthrough sessions, whereby we broke up into little groups, you know, meeting with smaller groups where we get more done and the conversation was more intimate. And we came up with some of the ills, you know. But it's very interesting because St. Lucia, Belize, Barbados, Jamaica, we all have the same problems. Everybody. Despite Trinidad having free education, there's still high crime rate. You know, besides Jamaica, certain parts of Jamaica where are tourist attractions, where there's economic movement, there's still high crime. You know, so it's a very interesting, situation in terms of youth and crime and violence. So identifying the problem is one thing, you know, but how taking action is something completely.
And I'm glad you said that. Maybe Kris will have a different perspective with the global aspect, because I think one of the things, you know, let's go back in time. There were many more young people involved, but I'll use two names. There was Philip Willoughby, Moses Solf. They were in tertiary. They were in UB, right? Not some outside university. They were in UB in Belize. There was a general frustration with what was happening in the country. We don't have to rehash that. And we watched these two youths walk through the streets of the city, walk into schools, and we saw students who were under 18 recognize that they also had a voice and walk out of the classroom and join in a public demonstration, which was peaceful in the beginning, in saying, we do not agree with what's happening. When we look in other parts of the world, young people lead movements. They don't wait. And that's a great thing about youths. You have an idealism that just, as we get older, we just forget about, I don't know. But when you believe something, you believe it. But we just haven't been seeing that much in Belize. We don't hear young people speaking out about corruption. We don't hear young people speaking out against crime. We don't hear young people saying how they feel about Guatemala. Why do you think that is so?
I think it's have to do with the part that you say we're keeping up with the Kardashians instead of keeping up with. I think majority of young people believe is that they don't really are informed as well. Like they will hear something and run with it instead of going and finding out what's the real reasoning or everything behind it. But I think they are not informed as well as what are the situations that are going on.
Let me be a cynic. Let me say that we wasted the trip that you guys went there, because when you guys come back, it was a nice experience. You saw a different place. You get to talk a little, but there's no translation.
Yeah.
I have a simple question. You met with youth leaders from all over the world, or it was all over the Caribbean?
Commonwealth.
Commonwealth.
Yes.
And you met with quite a few in the region. You guys basically spoke to some people in that room, at least maybe 10% of them who are going to be prime ministers and ministers in a little while.
I want to give a higher percentage.
Belize, well, I would hope so. I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope so. But I'm being very conservative in the prediction. Did you guys bring up Belize's challenge with the ICJ and Guatemala there and discuss and coordinate with some of your colleagues to say, listen, boy, in a little while, this thing might not go down a referendum. In 10 years, I might have to come back to you again and say, boy, we have to deal with this thing. Did you use that opportunity more so than just to be in a new place and to feel good about yourself to say, I got this somewhere else?
For the most part, I think it's more like sticking to the script, no? In our case, you know, we had a agenda, very well organized, I must say. Big up to St. Lucia National Youth Council, well organized. So most of that happened in maybe informal talk. You know, so at the hotel and stuff like that, no? And at the poolside, I could remember we speaking about all of this, especially with the ineffectiveness of CARICOM, and we were being blunt for the most part, right? I don't want to quote me for that, but that was informal
For you
talk.
too, with Commonwealth?
Yeah. With the Caribbean people, like, we had like a big conversation about CARICOM.
You really feel CARICOM doesn't work? You're saying the young people are saying?
Yes,
that
it doesn't work.
Listen to me.
That is what young people are saying.
This is the problem. Don't be scared to say
I'm not
what you
scared.
think.
When we had a discussion, and this was young people from every single country in the Caribbean, and when we had that discussion, everybody rolled their eyes. CARICOM doesn't work.
Yeah.
Where was it not working for you?
For us, we were not seeing any integration at all. In terms of forums and the conferences or whatever, we see it. But in terms of simple thing like this, Guatemalan issue, I raised to them that we have a problem with Guatemala, and we haven't had CARICOM came to our defense any at all. You know, there's no integration in terms of.
I feel proud, guys.
How could we? but saying this again, it's informal talk. It wasn't. It wasn't addressed around.
Well, that's part
the
leaders.
And that's why. I know you got a little bit nervous. You said it, and you got a little bit nervous. But what I'm saying is, part of the problems that we face is in this country, even adults, is that we have the meeting. And then we really have the meeting in the hallway.
Exactly.
So if there's nothing documented to say, I don't feel this is working for me, then how are we going to fix it? So it's important when you say that young people from across the Caribbean just don't feel that they're feeling any positive effects of our integration process.
Yes.
But you see, I think part of that informal talk means that, like you said, 10% of the
don't use that figure.
For the top of the head. Most of us will be young leaders. Most of us will be in politics. Most of us will be prime ministers, whatever, you know. So it might not be working now, but building that relationship there, you know, 10 years from now, maybe we could strengthen what we see is lacking, you know.
And I just want to go back to stick up in where you said in terms of the connections we have made. You know, going over St. Lucia, meeting with a lot of young leaders. Actually, we have a chat group with a couple of them, you know, and we discuss certain situations in the Caribbean, and we talk and we try to relate, and we try to partners and relate to how to solve certain things. And we, you know, again, I've met the youngest minister, elected minister, and he has shared his thing. So whenever Belize is having anything or you guys want just let me know. I'll pay my own way and come and try to help certain things. I made contact with the director from the Department of Youth in St. Lucia, and she said, please give your director my contact and we can probably share some ideas on how to work together. And it's the same with the young people. It's not just going there and you know, oh, we have a good time and we had a session, but we really exchange information and exchange ideas on how we as young people can really come together and try to fix or try to partner together and try to attack certain situations.
The irony, though, sorry, the irony is that the theme of your seminar was from rhetoric to action.
To action.
But you guys just went and talked again?
No. We created we created action plans.
Make me wrong.
We created action plans, and based on action plans, everybody from each country, when the action plan is put together, we are tasked to do whatever the action plan in within our one country, and I guarantee you, it's going to happen in Belize, whatever the action plan says.
Yeah, likewise for us, we didn't create like a policy. It was
there's no
action plan.
declaration?
Yeah, it was action plan all the way, and our action plan was taken to the Chatham meeting after the Commonwealth Youth Forum for countries to pass on it. So our action plan will be effective because the countries, the heads are passing.
They're bought into it.
Mind you that nobody is, that went there, I could speak for that, we aren't experiencing policy writing or, you know, so the action plan for us was the first step in getting that information out and creating the first step to combating whatever, no? So
I want to go back to something that Kris mentioned, and I think it's important because maybe you can give some insight as to what we can do. Let me estimate the youth conference in Belize had what, 300-400 young people, right? So let's say in Belize there are 200 actively engaged youths. Almost half our population are youths. So that's barely scratching the surface. And if we do have young people who simply aren't engaged in what, they don't care, maybe they're just cynical about it, I would understand that, you know, nothing's gonna change anyway. Or nobody wants to hear what I have to say, or I'll get that scholarship, or, you know, if I'm lucky, I'll get somebody to fund me or take out a loan, go to school, do really well, and get a great job over there. And, you know, I just hope Belize gets better. So, what do we do to get all the rest of the young people in this country? You won't get everybody who wants to be a youth leader or stand up at a podium and say, this is what I think or feel or demand from my country. But how do we even get them interested?
I would say, like, you have to make them feel that they have a voice. I think one of the biggest problems, people think that nobody cares, nobody wants to listen. They will listen to me, and like for the same thing, like in different meeting, I'm just here because I'm a youth. Or like if somebody really listen and, you know, goes and carry their words, and then I think they will feel empowered and be like, okay, they are listening to us.
In terms of, I want to shift back a little. No matter what happens with youth, except for maybe with your position, the youths are middlemen. So action plan is just words with the word action on it. And you have to put that to a policymaker, as you said. And then it freezes. In Belize, we've seen where we've had the benefit of having some youth leaders. So Patrick Farber started off very young. We can remember that. Colonel Hyde, very young. We have you as a current example of where our society is saying. And we had, I remember being very impressed with, I think the PUP had a candidate from Benque Viejo.
Mayor.
A mayoral candidate who would have been, if he had won, the youngest ever. We seem to, the society seems to be telling young people, you know, we aren't giving our a chance. But when the young people get there, and they become not the middleman, but the enforcers, they become part of the herd.
I think,
Go ahead.
I think that was mentioned. Sometimes people are given a chance, right? I mean, some people, everybody's case is different in terms of what age they started off or whatever. There's some that get there and do whatever, and there's some that are put in positions so that, in a sense, the government or whoever in charge is kind of put some muzzle on you, in a sense, right? So, right, he's good, we like him, he has that power, but he need to quiet down. So we put him so and put him in his position to make it, you know, keep him on the wraps, in our sense, no. Not saying that to anyone, but
I think
it happens.
You're not speaking about something specific.
No, it happens.
Okay.
It happens. It happens. It happens. You know, it happens.
I think I think it all boils down to agenda and what's each individual's agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go and you speak youth empowerment and youth involvement and you're reaching a position and, you know, it doesn't show, it doesn't reflect, then it shows what your agenda really is. I mean, like I've mentioned, the young person from Bahamas, when he was elected based on youth, about being a young person and being involved. And his agenda, and he stick true to his agenda, because that's what he's doing. I mean, like you know, it's all, for instance, for me, if I was to ever say, I'm gonna join politics and get elected, my agenda will be of and always youth involvement and youth empowerment, and nothing will steer me away from that, because that's my passion, and that's what I really care about. That's my agenda. So it goes all back to an individual's agenda. Once you have a particular agenda, no matter what outside stuff plays, you will stick to your agenda.
But to get to the question too, my problem with the young people that...
I'm on your side,
My problem with the young people who got elected and they, like you say, will do something wrong, mess up, they're making it harder for all of us.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, we gave the young people a chance and this is what they do. So no, it make it 10 times harder for, I guess, me or any other young people who decide, okay, I want to throw my hat in. Yeah. Like, no, I gave you guys a chance, you messed up.
Yeah.
And
so
that is not
they need to realize they're expressing for all of us.
And there's also a very important element here that we didn't discuss, which is ensuring that people are appropriately educated on their roles and responsibilities and allowing them the tools to be able to do so. Because we have to be very honest. You can't be thrown into a situation where you don't know how to maneuver yourself. But I want to go back to something else, and I have to, because, Kevin, I don't want any youth leader to think that the only way you affect change in this country or in this world is through politics. That is not what I would want all youth leaders to be able to aspire to do. Nothing wrong with it. Admirable, and there will be some who will choose that. You have your Malalas of this world. She doesn't need to be a politician. She risks her life for what she fought for, and that's because of a passion that is within her that no one can stop. So I really think that when you talk of an action plan, it does mean that you may have to rely on policy workers, but it also means that you get to use the intuitiveness of your youth to ensure that it's done. Tell us a bit of what you, in your experience abroad, have decided you want to do in Belize, and then the rest of us will see how we can help.
Well, from us, we based on the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal number 11, which was sustainable cities and environmental young people and the community. And so we had 4 sections. We had the political side, we had the culture, and we had one of the topics, social, and economic. I think Allan facilitated the economic side. I facilitated the social inclusion side. So those are the sessions that we were chosen to facilitate and guide that discussion. And so in my group, we have decided to do one, community mapping of services, what includes or what exists in a particular community, and furthermore do community dialoguing. And one of the things that we fail to realize is that we always plan for community instead of plan with community. And so one of the ideas and one of the actions is to actually go into these community and sit with them, you know, with grassroots leaders from that community and what the community really needs, what they really want, what they're interested in, and then work from that. I can see that the department is already steering in that direction. Then we have the child-friendly municipalities and the UNICEF, which is going on. So Belize is already making steps towards that. We're already doing action towards that. So it's just to help it, or to help boost it and to get the community involved.
And likewise for our session, the session I was in was sustainability, but it was based on the ocean. Belize already take that step, banning plastic and stuff like that. So just to continue on that trend.
In 11 months, I like talking about oceans, I like talking about cities, but in 11 months, we probably will not, it's possible that if a particular outcome comes from a court, that we won't have a particular, at least a few cities down south. More than a few.
In 11 months, we choose whether or not we go to court.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you're right. I'm being a bit
Scary.
yes, I'm fear-mongering a little. Yeah. But the reality is that, for sure, we have a very important decision to make. All of these things are nice and good, but voting is a process where 60% of our population is youth. Am I right? It's around there.
Yes.
70 below 35.
Yeah.
70.
Yeah.
So 70% of this vote, which is the same amount of percentage of persons who did not vote in Guatemala, are going to make the decision in Belize. Look at it that way. What is the role of young people in educating the society, in educating yourselves, and more importantly, how do you envision, as young leaders yourself, as to how to engage young people to get them informed? Yes.
In terms of a referendum, right?
In terms of the referendum vote,
It's an
education process.
It's an expensive process.
Yes.
I don't want to go too much to government. Yeah. The government.
Go where you want to.
But
Listen.
the government is responsible.
The
for
government is
education campaign.
responsible, right? There's campaigns that are supposed to be run, all right? The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, whoever is in charge, you have a budget, all right? And then part of your job is not only to get the people to vote, but to educate them on the matter, which is very important. So coming from us, who don't really have a working budget, it's harder for us to get that information out when the government is fully responsible to do so. And they should know the numbers, they should know the population, they should know how much people are young people, and they should know how to address and how to engage and how to educate. Yeah. So my thing is, that is there, a budget is there for that, and what they could do is reach out to Kyle, reach out to Kris, Dominique, reach out to me, and
you join the campaign.
Yeah.
I'll join.
What?
Let me ask a question though, because I have been skeptical about this. The education campaign has been primarily in tertiary institutions and secondary institutions. But from more history of elections, as much as we say, oh, the young voters, young voters don't vote. I was happy to get to register at 18. I was excited, but that, my mind was just weird. But they don't. That's fact.
Sure.
So is it a matter of, first of all, getting you interested in wanting to participate before we even help you to give you the information to make up your mind?
True. I had a discussion with my director yesterday, and one of the conversation that came out, one of the things that came out of that conversation was to see if we can partner with UWI and some other institutions to have some youth-friendly conversation and initiative as it relates to the referendum and the situation with Guatemala and Belize. And you know, information is power. Yeah. And a lot of our young people up to today's day still don't really understand what the situation is, what our standing is going into this to the ICG and stuff like that. So in the next couple of months we should be seeing some small little forums with young people discussing and having conversation around this problem. Now, what you have mentioned is very interesting as it relates to getting young people to actually participate.
To register,
and to register and stuff like that. I mean, we have been working on campaigns over the last couple of years to inform and to try to tell young people, go on, you know, vote. We had the Vote Like a Boss campaign, whereby we try to encourage young people to register and to go and vote. I mean, you cannot complain and you cannot sit back and make judgment if you don't make a decision. So.
But with the younger people, like how we're younger than these guys. The people in my age range, like,
how old are you?
I'm 21.
Okay.
Don't let Kyle be at food. James Harden be at let you.
Their issue is that no matter which side I voted, be
they're
the same.
cynical.
Yeah. They're like, okay, you want me to vote them out, but this is what I'm putting in it, or you want me to vote this in, but like they feel like there will be no change either way you put it.
But you know the Guatemala issue, and I'm drumming it. The Guatemala issue is an opportunity for us not to worry about partisan politics.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is one area where young people, and one of the things you said, Allan, which I found encouraging, is that you said that there are forums, there are tools for young people. I was saying earlier that one of the beautiful things about young people, when I was young, maybe about 2 years ago, the beautiful thing about it was just being able to say what you want. It was consequence free.
Yeah.
The only way that society.
That's personality.
It's personality,
That's
but it's also your personality doesn't change a lot as you get older. It's permanently same.
Obviously.
But the but you have your tolerance for opposition and for other people's niceties changes as you get older. And as I hear you guys talk, my encouragement to you and to the wider youths in Belize is to say, listen, don't wait for them to come to you.
Find them.
Find your blogs. I read a book by Assad Schumann, How Can I Resolve the Guatemala Claim? It has 34 pages. Beautifully read. And I thought, I don't know of 10 young people who would read this. But their memes, their gifts, there's these.
There's social media.
There's social media.
And
Go ahead.
you know, it's very unfortunate in terms of this Guatemalan situation. And then you want young people involved in it, and you want young people to vote on it, when really it isn't our problem, you know, and it's unfair. It's not our problem. I'm saying that on camera. It's not our problem.
What's not our problem?
The Guatemalan issue. It's not something that, all right, it developed in us, you know.
You mean the young population?
The young population. So.
But you will face whatever consequences.
We will, and that's the thing. We have to,
More so whatever,
we
have less time with it.
Whatever campaign comes out, it has to be something whereby we're warned about consequences. We're warned about the effects. We're warned about, you know, because in a sense, young people are like, okay, all right, this is our issue about the British. This is in Belize, you know, this is the British and then Guatemala. What are the issue? We not even know. We didn't cause it. We never, you know. So it's an argument going on between them, and we're stuck in the middle in an unfortunate situation, and we will feel for it, you know. And it's very unfortunate and it's very unfair. But again, the campaign has to be on the effects.
Here's what I really appreciate hearing from you is wanting to know potential consequences. And my challenge, because we have to wrap up the segment, to you is that you ask those questions and you demand honest answers. The campaign should reach you, and I love what Kevin says. If it doesn't reach you, you find it. But always ask the honest question. Ask the question that nobody wants you to ask, and demand honest answers, not diplomatic speech, right?
Marlene, can I, before
closing point.
Closing question, and I think that I'm channeling my inner Marlene. This one. I have to ask this because this morning we had the benefit of inspiring young men. I'm as a young person of color as well. I'm also inspired by you guys. But I have to throw this out there. Is there, we've seen where we've had, and Marlene says politics is not the only game in town, but it's the most focused. You know, where you see young people in politics and they get extra attention. They're on the forefront. That's just naturally what happens. They inspire people naturally, or they discourage people naturally.
That's a media base.
Correct. That's a media base thing, but it's a reality. I've realized that I don't see a lot of women in youth leadership. Is there some sexism in youth, and what?
To differ.
I beg to differ.
I beg to come here.
The president of the National Youth Council is
I beg to differ. I think out of all different countries, Belize actually have more female youth-led than male. In Caribbean, by far.
For example,
Belize
apart from
Council, we have 3 lovely women on the Belize City Council, guys. Give it up for them. Lovely women.
Then we have Kris Marin, who is on the Caribbean Youth Council.
Regional Youth Council.
Regional Youth Council. So we have a lot of young females
holding big positions.
Youth ambassadors.
So we have the youth ambassador who's a female.
They're just a lot less vocal.
No, they are.
We're not seeing them?
But you know why? Because you all voted her off the panel in my absence. But we will remedy that. We will have her back on the show at some point in time. Thank you so much for having this very spirited conversation with us. It reminds us once again that you have a perspective that we are not always aware of that needs to be voiced. Thank you for being here. And best of luck in following through, going from rhetoric to action. We're going to go ahead and take that final break, and when we come back, we'll have our wrap-up, so stay tuned.